Hey there, here's a little food for thought. I came across this article from RT, which was posted on August 15th, which was this past Friday. And here it says Russia seeks safe haven in gold away from dollar and euro. And so this article here, very uh, detailed as far as the current economic situation globally, as all those sanctions that America is placing on Russia for their so-called involvement in Ukraine is pretty much speeding up other nations in their efforts to diversify away from the United States dollar in regards to international trade. So just to share with you briefly some information here, which I think is very important. I would recommend that you, if interested, do some research on your own. But other than that, great article. I'll also post a link when I'm finished. But just to give you some details, it says Russia is taking steps to ensure that it protects itself from any future dollar or European sanctions. Moscow boasts the world's fifth biggest foreign exchange reserves and the sixth largest gold reserves. And so by this being fifth biggest foreign exchange reserves, which means they have in their pretty much bank deposit or in their keeping, they have um, various currencies from other countries, which equates to their total reserves that they use to do business with other countries. And then it says they have the sixth largest gold reserve, which means that beyond having treasury bonds and other bonds from other countries, which is basically a representation of those nations' currency, they also have large deposits of gold. So picture two vaults, one with bonds and paper assets, and the other one with physical money in the form of gold. And it says in total, the assets amount to over 1.5 trillion. It says while the West is continuing to try and punish Russia via economic sanctions, the response of the Russian central bank has been to diversify away from the euro and the dollar and to buy up more gold. And so, as our president Obama decides to penalize, or as he calls it, isolate Russia, Russia is simply just, speeding things up on their end as far as diversifying away from the dollar, which basically means that they're just choosing to turn their back on the West and just not do business with the West, which, in return, will not hurt them as much, being that they have other partners that they're more than willing to do business with. Whereas in us here in America, we are always in need of, having partners and allies and people to export our dollars to in exchange for their goods. And that's pretty much how our country operates here in America. But, they're diversifying away. Great little point there. And it says, as the geopolitical situation in Ukraine deteriorates, Russia is moving to protect itself from currency risk associated with the euro and greenback. And so as the whole Ukraine situation just, gets worse and worse, Russia is basically simply protecting themselves from currency risk, primarily in associating with the euro and the greenback, or the Federal Reserve note. It says in the first half of 2014, Russia's central bank reduced. I mean, they lessened their foreign currency reserves by 2.5%. So I mean, basically, they cashed in on some bonds to liquefy themselves away from the dollar, and in return, with those dollars, they purchased gold, which is another way of storing wealth. And it says, due to the worsening geopolitical situation, the central bank actively redistributed foreign exchange reserves, replacing U.S. Treasury bonds with gold. Alpha Bank's chief economist Natalia Orlova told Commerçant, which is, probably a newspaper or something like that. And then it says, instead of buying euros and dollars, Russia's central bank is eyeing the Chinese yuan and Japanese yen. And so basically, this article here just mentions, how Russia is combating those sanctions imposed by the U.S. as far as them basically just saying, okay, if you're going to sanction us and, put holes and put stops on our accounts and do this and do that to try to, hurt our economy in a sense, we'll just simply, remove ourselves from your grasp by, getting rid of your treasury bonds. So we'll cash in on the money we loaned you, and we'll take that and then we'll purchase gold. And so this is just one example of the many scenarios that countries are taking to diversify themselves or to move away from the dollar. And this here is information that's not really mainstream. Nowhere will you hear this on Fox News or CNN. This is RT, which is pretty much Russia Today. So this is a Russian-backed newspaper, but yet you have key people here, Alpha Bank's chief economist. You have key contributors, people who know the inside scoop as to what's going on outside of the United States that, to learn from. And so I thought I would share this information here. Great food for thought. Also, just another reason to begin rethinking the dollar. And when I say rethinking the dollar, I mean begin to ask, some questions about, what we use here as a currency, as legal tender, just to become more familiar with what it is and how it applies to your life and just at your cost of living. The more informed you are about what you use for money, I believe the better decisions you can have as time goes on, and as these situations here begin to ramp up, you'll be better prepared to respond. Anyway, this is an economic enthusiast on rethinking the dollar. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to get your spin on this. What do you think? Is it something big or not, or what do you think? Anyway, leave me some feedback. Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.